Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff Mom Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And welcome to another Monday Mini. Today's date is March 11th, 2025, which, by the way, I got a very interesting scam text today that told me my car had run a red light somewhere. And I was like, that's really interesting because I haven't driven it in 3 months.
There's a lot of those scams going around with you didn't pay a toll fine, all these things.
Yes. I got one today. But I thought my car might have been stolen because, again, I haven't driven it in 3 months. So I had to go and investigate. It's like, no, it's still there. Just a scam.
That's amazing.
But yes, that is the date. And I'm putting that on there because a lot of publications, a lot of media is talking about this. I'm actually surprised about how much, which I don't know if that's right or wrong to be surprised by it. But we are entering with the 5th year anniversary of COVID. We are here. March 13th is my quarantine anniversary, as I call it. I do have some traditions around it. But people are writing about it. And I was just curious how things have changed. Have they changed about what people are talking about when it comes to COVID and women? And it turns out they have a little bit. There's actually a lot of interesting conversations about how it changed women in entertainment and very niche entertainment. We're not really going to talk about that here today, but that if you want to look it up, there's a lot of interesting conversation about that. And if you've been listening to this show, we were just joking today about how painful it is for us to listen to our early pandemic episodes when we were like, in a week or so, we'll be fine.
In a month. This is going to last 30 days, yeah?
Yeah, and then we're like, maybe 2 months.
And then into 6 months.
Yeah.
Everything's the worst.
And interestingly, Monday Mini as a segment kind of came about because of the pandemic. We were asked to add another segment, and I remember sitting in a meeting where some of our higher ups were like, COVID, everybody's talking about COVID. You should have a newsy segment almost. So here we are, Monday Mini, revisiting that. But that being said, we have talked previously about all the ways COVID disproportionately harmed women and minorities in terms of health, in terms of family life, domestic violence, and in terms of their profession. But one thing that I have seen a lot written about lately is long COVID and women. So we actually have talked about this previously too, but there's been a lot more new research coming out about it. So women are more likely to suffer from long COVID, which is when someone experiences a wide range of persistent symptoms 12 weeks after contracting COVID. Usually the symptoms are things like brain fog, poor memory, breathlessness, chronic fatigue, heart racing. And they can lead to more serious things like a stroke. I was looking at the list. The CDC has a whole page about this. And one of the ones that stuck out to me is random muscle twitching. I have experienced that for several years since COVID.
Huh.
And I've looked it up and I've tried. I was like, is it restless leg syndrome? What is going on here? It usually happens when I'm trying to sleep, but it is one of the symptoms of long COVID. But the symptoms are very wide ranging. So it's one of those things. They're still researching it. They're still studying it. It's one of those things I feel like you could look at it and be like, this is me. I've got this.
Often.
Yeah. But these symptoms can last for 3 to 6 months. They can last for years. There is no known cure, and it can be really debilitating. A lot of people have written about it in terms of these publications that are coming out about how it's impacted their life and how it's completely changed their life. Somebody wrote that they feel like they're grieving their old life because it's completely changed their life. Recent data shows about 7% of Americans struggle with long COVID, and of that, it is mostly women. Women are more likely to contract COVID during COVID peaks, so when it's really spiking. And that's likely due to the jobs, tasks, and roles women are more likely to have. So being nurses or teachers or interacting with people in that way. Trump has said he will eliminate the Department of Health and Human Services Advisory Committee focusing on long COVID. He said he was going to do that by February 19th. And I couldn't find anything else. So I don't know if this is one of those things that he actually succeeded in or not. I'm not sure. But probably he did. Probably he did, because a lot of people got fired. So experts are worried this is another case of medical research leaving out women and marginalized folks. So like, we're not looking into it because it impacts mostly women and marginalized folks. So it's not hurting men as much. Therefore, the research is gone. The money is gone. No one cares. This also has led to a lack of training in public education, both in terms of professionals and just regular people. A lot of people don't even know that they have it. A lot of people don't even know to diagnose it. A lot of people don't believe it's a thing and will tell people it's not a thing, even though it is a thing. So it's sort of a mess. And this leads back into another thing we've talked about before. We still don't believe women about their health. We still don't believe them about their pain, their symptoms. I have to tell you, this Women's History Month, multiple emails have come into our our Sminty email box that have been like, did you know that 74% of women are still not believed about their health? And I was like, I'm not surprised.
Right.
I'm not surprised at all, but damn, that sucks. But a lot of women who have been writing about their experience with long COVID, they reported going to 10 to 20 doctors. They were talking about the time and money it took and how many of these doctors usually were like, I think you're probably just stressed.
Which you're probably overweight.
Oh, you're probably overweight. It's very
you just
like
exercise.
The hysteria diagnosis of like, oh, you just need to calm down.
Right.
It's going to be okay. And I really want to stress this, like, go read the accounts of these women. This is not, I get being stressed and it does affect your health. This is not that. This is like serious, I cannot function. Depression can do that, but to be just so dismissed of, no, just go drink some tea or something.
Have you had any water today?
Yeah. Have you been in
I
the
know
sun?
you can't really figure out what's going on because you're really dizzy and you can't see out of your left eye, but have you had water?
Have you? Go drink a water. And a lot of women reported like finding comfort in online communities and being like, okay, I'm not the only one that is experiencing this. Even though all these doctors are telling me it's in my head, I'm not the only one. But yeah, I mean, it also comes with ableism of just dismissing. A lot of these people were saying, I cannot go about my life anymore. Like, I can't do XYZ anymore. And so many of them being not able to get access to healthcare or Social Security disability insurance here in the United States, or Medicare or Medicaid, because they were just being dismissed and being told, hey, you're stressed. That's it. And this also opened up a whole other conversation about accessing healthcare as trans or non-binary and how difficult that is on top of having a chronic illness or something like this. And then, you know, there's the price of it all, both in time and money, the pain of being ignored. And then there's also a whole different conversation that's happening currently about pregnant women and the COVID vaccine, which had been happening and it was kind of settled. And now it's been all messed up again. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But unfortunately, this is a thing that we don't really understand too well right now, but I read it framed as a feminist issue of because more women are impacted and because all of these research cuts, these price cuts and things like Medicaid and Social Security, it is impacting more women. And it is an unfortunate building block on the history of ignoring women in terms of medical research, of ignoring marginalized people in terms of medical research. But there are people that are doing amazing things and being real advocates, and even in specific niche communities. So there are people doing this work, and it's amazing. It's just one of those things where you're like, 5 years into COVID, and here we are. But yeah. Listeners, if you have any resources for us about this, if you have any thoughts about this or any experience with it, please let us know. You can email us at hello@stuffmomnevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, our executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff Mom Never Told You is a production by iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.